What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of The Block Sat. In this episode, we're going to be talking about this upcoming Vasil Hardfork coming to Cardano later this month and its potential impacts it can have on the price of ADA as well as the price of CNFTs. But without further ado, let's get into it. The first major thing that I wanted to bring up in this video was I wanted to emphasize how big of a deal this Vasil Hardfork really is. The Vasil Hardfork is happening on the 29th, and there are going to be a plethora of different improvements and upgrades happening for the Cardano blockchain, and I highly recommend going to my description and watching this video from Kaizen where you can get the whole entire breakdown here. But essentially, guys, they're going to increase block size and throughput, which is going to help with transaction speed. They're going to lower transaction cost, and most importantly here, they're actually going to expand upon the whole entire Plutus smart contract system, so a lot of these decentralized applications can go on to the next step of their whole entire development process and hopefully launch that much sooner. Now, in my opinion, what do I think the impacts are going to be on the price of ADA as well as the overall blockchain of Cardano, and then specifically CNFTs, because this is a mostly CNFT focused channel? Well, guys, I am a big believer in following the money, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that DeFi Llama is actually one of my favorite sites when it comes to tracking the actual money flow into different blockchains. And the really awesome thing about DeFi Llama is that you're able to compare all of these chains and their TVL, or total value locked, and compare that to their market cap. And one of the things that you guys will realize is that Cardano is way down this list, all the way in the 26th position, and there is only 162 million TVL locked into this overall blockchain, and the majority of that is in their different decentralized exchanges such as MinSwap. And I believe you can even click this, guys, and you can see that MinSwap does have about 58 million of that TVL. Then you have Sunday Swap, Wing Riders, and then you have Meld, and then some of these other ones are not even in the millions. One of the major things that you'll notice about TVL, guys, is that as TVL goes up for a specific blockchain, usually the market cap of that blockchain goes up as well. And if you really think about it, Phantom was one of the best examples of this. Back in October of last year, Phantom started to blow up out of nowhere, and it was because all of these decentralized applications and protocols came out using their technology, using their blockchain, and it made it incredibly profitable to go on their blockchain and farm, because you could go on one farm, make money on that farm, get the token from that farm and put it on another farm, and then you could get a collateralized loan on it. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous, and that TVL boom allowed Phantom to absolutely explode, and it's still the 7th largest when it comes to total TVL, even though one of their main developers left. But the interesting thing about TVL, guys, is that I can't get into Spooky Swap or Beefy Finance or Geist or Beethoven. I can't get into these things without owning Phantom, and the reason is all of these transaction fees are in Phantom, because that's what the blockchain is. So usually that's why you're able to see an increase in price of that blockchain. And what I really think is going to happen, guys, is that now that this Plutus smart contract update is finally come out, now a lot of these basically decentralized applications that we've been waiting for on Cardano are going to come out pretty shortly here, and that is going to increase the amount of money flowing into the Cardano ecosystem. And when that happens, guys, guess what? They're going to need ADA, because ADA is going to be the primary thing that you can swap with everything, but it's also going to be the transaction fees for every single transaction on these different decentralized exchanges. Although I believe that this TVL is going to increase as these projects come out, I do realize that it's going to take a while for these benefits, for these upgrades to actually be realized. Cardano is a difficult language to code in, and I've talked to several developers about it, and that is one of the major problems with Cardano as a blockchain. A lot of people just don't know how to code in it. The language is completely unique. It isn't like Solidity on Ethereum, where, it's a lot easier for people to pick up, and then it can be EVM compatible, and the same projects can just go on different blockchains. No, Cardano is a completely different language, and even though the ability to do these different smart contracts is going to be improved upon and expanded, it's still going to take time for these developers to learn it. But once they do learn it, and once they do finally have these different protocols, I think that the TVL is just going to go crazy, and the price of ADA is going to go up a lot as a result, but that is going to take time. Now, what do I think is going to happen in the short term? Well, guys, if you look at every single hard fork, we usually have a pretty decent run up leading up to the actual date. So in this situation, the actual date for the Vasil hard fork is the 29th of this month. So historically, we would have a run up before that happens. And you can look at last year, guys, on the 19th of August, we were only at $1.05 with ADA. And then September 12th was when they were actually going to release this whole entire basically upgrade, this hard fork. And you can see that it actually ran all the way up to nearly $3 before that happened within a 1 month time period, and then it actually started to go down a little bit before that actual improvement was out. But one of the things that I want to bring up here is that that improvement took a long time to realize. The first project that really came out was SundaeSwap, and they didn't come out until January, and honestly, it wasn't even a fully finished project, and they were trying to rush stuff out, and that's the reason why we saw such a major decline with the price of ADA. It takes time for these things to be realized, and that's going to be the same situation with this Vasil hard fork. Now, usually we have this run up, and usually if you're already in ADA, the best thing to do is sell on the news, wait for a bunch of people to basically buy in, FOMO, panic. They see the price go up. It's a whole psychology thing. Basically, they buy in, you sell, and then obviously the real utility isn't going to be realized for a while. You wait for the price of ADA to go back down, and then you rebuy back in if you're trying to swing trade this thing. But one thing that's interesting right now, guys, is that we should have already been running up as a coin. And yes, we have run up all the way to a 15% gainer for the week. Now we actually went down 10%, so it's only 3.6. So we're actually still like in the top 10 or 12 here as far as coins. But even though we have had a slight gain up, it hasn't been as much as we really should have if you've looked at this previous forks. And I think the problem is, guys, is the overall market has just been getting sold so much. Bitcoin can't make up its mind. Inflation is literally not at all-time highs, but very, very crazy levels of inflation of like 8.5%, literally in this from a year to date now. So it's absolutely insane. Do I think the price of ADA is going to run up a lot? I don't think it's going to run up a lot, as a lot of other people are saying. I think that there's a chance that it could run up a little bit, but I don't think we're going to have a massive run up, and I'd be surprised if we did get past $1. And I do think it is going to be a similar situation as the last time, where it will be better to sell on the news rather than actually waiting for this utility to be realized, even though, of course, I'm going to have ADA that I just hold in a long-term bag. Now, let's say that ADA does go on a crazy run. We have a reversal here. All of a sudden, everyone is bullish in the macro market. We forget about inflation. We forget about the war. We forget about everything going on, and we get very, very bullish with crypto. Now, this can't happen, but you know, like, it sounds ridiculous even me saying it. What exactly is going to happen with CNFTs, in my opinion? And I've brought up this whole entire beautiful art piece that I've done before, but I wanted to bring this up again and kind of explain the best times to really be in CNFTs, or just be in NFTs in general. There's two major times that being in CNFTs or just NFTs in general make the most sense. This is best case situation. The first scenario is when we're in a sideways market here. And this is pretty much what's been going on for the most part, especially over this past month. We've really just been in this 28 to 32K Bitcoin range. And one of the reasons NFTs are so awesome in this in-between or sideways trading market is that instead of just holding Bitcoin, for example, and just seeing these fluctuations up and down, I can instead be in NFTs where I can potentially mint some different NFTs, flip them, maybe get into different swing trades, and make more money because I can be more active than simply waiting for a breakout in either direction. And yes, guys, if you're anticipating a breakout, it's nice to be in that coin or out of that coin, depending on which way you think it's going to go. But as you've seen in this market, it's extremely hard to predict and no one knows. So usually in a sideways market, I love NFTs, and you really start seeing a lot of people get bored with crypto not going up a lot and get into NFTs. And during this sideways market too, if you're not into NFTs, really look into, oh my gosh, my spelling is so bad. but look into DeFi, because you can go on these different farms. Maybe you do different stablecoin farming. Maybe you do, I don't know, you can go on different farms, make some money from DeFi, and potentially make more money than just waiting in this between stage. The second best time for NFTs is whenever we get super bullish. And I'll cover it a little bit later on this whole entire safe list concept. But whenever we get super bullish, people tend to get super greedy. And NFTs at the end of the day, guys, is an emerging asset, and it's super, super speculative. So whenever we get into this super, super bullish mindset, people want to figure out the way they can make the most money possible. And usually it's a lot easier to move an NFT that might have the market cap of $1 million, for example, than trying to move something like Bitcoin that is worth hundreds of billions and at one point over $1 trillion. Now, there's also two situations where being in NFTs is actually not a great position. Example number one here is when we're just bullish, but we're not super bullish. We're having these upward swings, but we're really not going into this whole crazy, degen mode where everyone is just buying everything to make as much money possible. The reason why being in a bullish market or a slightly bullish market isn't great is that people are going to be like, holy crap, man, I'm missing out on all of these gains from Bitcoin going from, let's say, 32K all the way to 40K because I'm involved in these NFTs that not a lot of people are buying right now because they don't want to put their liquidity in an NFT that they aren't super confident on. So they're like, hey man, let me do less work. Let me get out of these DeFi farms. Let me get out of NFTs and simply ride the wave with the overall coin moving. So this isn't a very great situation. But one thing that is nice when we start getting bullish is that whenever we get super bullish, that's when we go back to the phase over here where everyone is starting to degen. And sometimes you can find some really amazing buying opportunities for NFTs in this situation because you're going to be seeing a lot of people sell rather than buy. Now, the absolute worst case situation for NFTs is if we get super, super bearish. It's okay if we're going down a little bit because, like I said, guys, people are like, hey, maybe I can be active and make more money. But if we just do this fall off the cliff type thing, what are people going to do? They're going to get out of their riskiest assets, such as NFTs, even though I'm very bullish on NFTs, and they're going to start putting those into safer options. Now, I made a little bit of a safe list over here, guys, of just some of the different asset options people have when they're involved with crypto and NFTs. And one of the things that I want to bring up here is that every single one of these has a different amount of risk and has a different amount of reward. And the further you get down this list, the more risky something is, the higher the potential reward and the higher the potential gain. But the problem is, guys, is that the lower you are down this list, the more greedy people have to be. And the more fearful people are, the higher up they are on this list. And one of the things that happens, and one of the reasons that this being super bearish sucks for NFTs, is that if we get super bearish, people are going to start leapfrogging out of NFTs if they haven't already, and they're going to start going into safer options. And maybe if you're someone like me that's okay with a 10 out of 10 risk, maybe you're over here and then you're like, oh crap, maybe I should just go to smaller market cap coins. But there are people right here already in large market cap coins where they're like, holy crap, this is getting even more scary. Let me get into Bitcoin. And essentially, guys, there are 6 different things that you can do in the crypto and NFT space that all have these different risks and different rewards. Number 1 is holding fiat. Now, I'm not a big fan of fiat. I'm not a big fan of USD. I don't like how they can just print more of it and how they did and how inflation is absolutely ridiculous. And if you look at the chart of the dollar, you're going to be like, holy crap, dude, what kind of scam is this? But a lot of people still believe that fiat is the safest option. And there is still that belief that cash is king. So a lot of times when things get really bad, people get out of different assets such as stocks, such as real estate, such as, crypto, and they start putting more of their money into fiat. The next step here is obviously going to be in your stable coins. You didn't make that full transition back into fiat, but now you're having stable coins and maybe you're farming with those stable coins and getting anywhere from 8 to 10% on these different decentralized exchanges. Now, the problem with stable coins, guys, is I don't know if you noticed UST where I got dicked on. But UST literally crashed because it literally crashed. It's this whole thing I'm not even going to get into. So what you have to worry about is, even though the USDC and USDT aren't algorithmic, or however you say it, there's still a chance that that could go to shit. And if you see all of the crap that's happened with USDT in the past, who knows if that's going to get shut down. And we also know in the United States that they really want to crack down on stablecoins. So there's a lot that go into stablecoins, and I just want to exercise some additional caution here. Yes, with USDT, supposedly there's $1 for every single USDT out there, and USDC is a very similar situation. It's not like USDT where it's algorithmic, where it has this whole entire balance between Terra Luna and all of that stuff. But we have to be careful still, guys, because we never know what's going to happen. The next little more risky thing than stablecoins, but has a potential of higher rewards, is going to be your Bitcoin, because it has the largest market cap. Now, the thing with Bitcoin is that because the market cap is so large, it is going to take longer and a lot more money for Bitcoin to move. So your overall reward is a lot smaller than potentially getting into some of these other options, but at least you know it's a little bit more safer, and that'll hold its price a little bit better. The next step is obviously going to be your large market cap coins. Think of things like ADA, think of things like Solana, some of these major ones that can move a lot more than Bitcoin, so they're more risky, but they also have that higher reward. Then we go a little bit more risky into small market cap coins, which are maybe, the 100th largest coin, or maybe the 200th largest coin, where yes, it can move a lot more. Yes, you have the chance of a 10, 20, 50x, but there's also a chance that that coin doesn't survive a very bearish market. And in that situation, you would have been better off holding something a lot more safe. And then the last thing here is what comes to NFTs. And this is the most risky thing. This is the speculative side of things, where we are getting into meme coins, where we are getting into gaming coins, and when we're getting into NFTs in general. To kind of summarize everything that I kind of just went over there and compare it to the price of CNFTs, what do I think is going to happen? Well, guys, there's a couple different situations with this hard fork. Situation number one is that this market just doesn't move, and this ADA does not go up because the whole entire macro market is really crap right now, and we just continue to go sideways. If this happens, then a lot of these NFTs are pretty much going to stay where it's at in the short term. Now, this upgrade in the long term is going to be huge, because you're going to have all this increased TVL in the future. You're going to have all these different decentralized applications, and a lot of people that are familiar with DeFi are going to be familiar with NFTs, and there's a world where money starts transitioning into this market, especially when the entire congestion starts to go down and it starts to be a lot more competitive as far as speed when compared to Solana. The second option that we have here is that we could get super, super bullish with the price of Cardano. In the beginning, we would have this situation where we're just bullish and the price of ADA is going up, and there's a chance that people try to sell their CNFTs, lower the price of these different CNFTs. That way they can get their ADA and then basically capitalize on their gains with ADA and maybe sell on the news, sell on the hype, especially if we've been having a run up, rather than, just holding. So that could potentially happen. The other flip side with that, though, is that if a lot of people start selling these different CNFTs, trying to capitalize on the ADA, that's actually probably when you want to do the opposite and buy, because if we get into a very bullish situation, then a lot of people are going to get greedy again when you look at our whole entire safe list here, and they're going to jump from, maybe being in these larger market cap coins such as ADA, and they're going to get back into CNFTs because they're going to be looking to make the most money as possible, because everything is just super greedy. I don't know if that's the situation that is going to play out. It's definitely something that we have to keep an eye on, and we have to keep on how much ADA is really running up leading up to this date, if it runs up at all. The last situation that can happen is that the macro market is just so incredibly bad that instead of ADA actually going on a run because of this news, that everything just goes down. And if we're just slightly bearish, then we're fine. A lot of these CNFTs are simply going to hold their ADA value, but not their dollar value. But if we get really bad, then once again, people are most likely going to sell here, and they're going to start transitioning into safer things such as Bitcoin stables or fiat. Now, the interesting thing that I do want to bring up here, guys, is that a lot of times these actual NFTs hold their value in ADA or the main token of that blockchain, but not necessarily USD. For example, even though ADA has gone down from, let's say, $1 to 50 cents, a lot of these Clay Nation have actually been holding their ADA value of $3 of 3,000. So potentially, if ADA goes from 50 cents to 25 cents, potentially these Clay Nation are still 3,000 ADA, but the actual dollar amount is a lot less, like $800 or whatever the case is. And we kind of saw this too, where let's just say ADA goes from 50 cents to $1. There's a big chance that this actual Clay Nation is still worth 3,000 ADA, but the actual dollar amount is a lot higher. The only time we see the ADA and that dollar amount kind of vary or go together is whenever we are super bullish or super bearish, or people are just in that in-between bullish phase where they want to basically liquidate their ADA, but it's trapped in CNFTs. All right, now I have to summarize the summary, and I'm so sorry, guys, that my brain is all over the place today. I don't know what's going on. Essentially, though, I do think this hard fork is going to increase the price of ADA. I don't think it's going to be as much as a lot of people are saying. I just don't see the market being in a situation where we really have a major pop off with ADA unless the whole entire market does a shift. I think for the most part, a lot of these CNFTs are going to maintain the same ADA value, even if ADA does go up a little bit, let's just say 30%. I think that a Clay Nation, for example, might still be 3,000 ADA. It's just now the US dollar value is going to be a little bit higher. If we do start going on a pretty quick run up though, and let's just say get to $1.20 or $1.30 or $1.50, and people are just going absolutely crazy for ADA, then there is a chance that some of these CNFTs start getting sold so that people can take profit on the hype or on the news of this, and basically CNFTs will go down as far as ADA goes, simply because people have their ADA locked up in CNFTs. I do, however, think that if we continue to be super bullish, if we are making some pretty decent moves, then a lot of money is then in turn going to flow back into CNFTs, and they are going to get a pump again. Overall though, most of them are going to maintain the same ADA price or follow the price of ADA pretty well. Now, I think in the long term, this hard fork is going to have major benefits and major improvements when it comes to the price of these different CNFTs, because it's going to improve the overall technology and infrastructure, as well as have more people have their eyes on this market and really know about it. Now, in the worst case situation where we just get a lot more bearish, it's okay if we're a little bit bearish, the US dollar value of our CNFTs will go down, but they'll still be the same amount of ADA. But if we get super, super bearish, guys, and Bitcoin all of a sudden is going to like 21K, that could be a situation where a lot of these CNFTs take a double whammy hit, where not only are the CNFTs worth less USD wise just because ADA has gone down, but they're also going to be worth less ADA because people are going to want to be able to get out of them in order to put into those safer options that were on my safe list. Hopefully that made a little bit more sense here and was hopefully a little bit more clear. But overall, guys, I am super excited for what this hard fork is going to bring. And even if it doesn't increase the price of ADA in the short term, it is one of those amazing things that are going to benefit the blockchain as a whole in the long run. And I'm super excited to see a lot of these major decentralized applications finally start to come out this year.